everyone, and welcome to this video, which is all about how to improve on Gran Turismo. And arguably, actually, it's any racing game or any game in general. But obviously, we're going to be looking at Gran Turismo specifically because that's what this channel really does focus on. Now, I do constantly get comments on my time trial videos, on the weekly race guide, on terms of the guide section, and they go, Tidge, I do exactly what you do, and I'm X seconds slower, so there must be a reason for this. You know, you're cheating or whatever it might be. I don't get accused of cheating too often. Occasionally I do, and then I prove it in a video, as I've done in the past. Like on the controller, for example. Now, there is a reality here, and the reality is you may think you are doing exactly what I'm doing, but you may be doing it a bit too late or a bit too early. Let me explain. You could be braking 5 meters too late. That could compromise your entire lap, 5 meters every corner. Replays are very deceiving, by the way, which is why I do the weekly race guide like a live sort of lap there, because watching a replay is actually 10 meters out generally anyway, which is where it can be deceiving. You could be braking too early. That's a very common thing in the fact that you brake too early because you don't feel you can brake late enough. You may be slightly turning the car when you go on the brake, so quite common. People look towards an apex and then they hit the brakes and start turning. That creates braking inefficiencies, which I've talked about. A tyre can only do 100% of something, so think of it that way. So you have 100% braking, or if you slightly turn, it can only do 90% braking. So therefore you go, oh, Tidge, I can't brake as much as you. Well, you're slightly turning the wheel. You may be overslowing the car, so literally you're just staying on the brakes for far too long. That's a very common thing to do as well. You might not be slowing the car enough. You know, you're doing the exact same thing, but you're just not slowing the car down enough. Maybe you're coming down the gears a bit too slow on some cars. Maybe a bit too quick on other cars, because that is also an issue. So there's lots of little things here that are happening. And the critical thing here is it could be any one of those things. So how do you really know where you're losing time? Well, this is the point of the video. So let me take you back to 2011, 2012, and 2013 and GT Academy. So obviously I competed in GT Academy. For those that don't know, there's a video on the channel. I put a clip somewhere on here somewhere as well, but of course you had to do a time trial, and the very best players in Gran Turismo and arguably in sim racing in general all did jump onto this, and you had to be on it, like on the ball with this sort of stuff. Okay, so what I did was I used a spreadsheet. I'd log down my sessions, sector 1, 2, 3, my overall optimal time, and then I'd also compare it against the fastest time. So I'd log their sector times because you could watch replays, and I would see. I'd also follow the Ghost as well because that was also available. So generally speaking, spreadsheet and Ghost are how I improved on Gran Turismo. Now, today, that hasn't really changed. You've seen I use Ghosts. You've seen I watch replays. I don't use spreadsheets anymore because Coach Dave Academy's Delta exists. Now, there are other apps as well out there, so you don't have to use a Delta. And the Coach Dave and the Delta team, they are partnered with the Weekly Race Guide, as I bang on about every single time, and I appreciate that. And Coach Dave Academy is obviously an affiliate as well on the channel. But this isn't a partnered video, okay? This is me just using the software in this video. Because people always say, how do you use it, Tidge? How can you use it? Well, I'm going to demonstrate it in this video. So for the next few days, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the latest time trial, which I know I've already started, but obviously it was a fair few days ago. I'm doing this on Monday. So what's that? Sunday, Saturday, Friday, 4 days ago. I can count. So it's 4 days ago. I can't really remember it. I'll jump back onto it. We're going to go through it, and we're going to identify where my weaknesses are and how I can improve using the Delta app. You don't have to use a Delta app. I'm not saying you have to use that. Use a spreadsheet. Use whatever you think is best. But the critical thing here is you need to be able to identify where your weaknesses are to be able to improve in Gran Turismo. And that's what I'm going to demonstrate with this Delta app, okay? And how I improve using it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out and set a benchmark. Probably do 10 laps or something, just get me back into the swing of it. Just get an idea of where I'm at currently. But before we even do that, we need to make sure the Delta app is loaded. So critically, for the Delta app, for those that are using it, you need to make sure it's open. So I use it on my PC, so it's open on the PC. Critically, the PlayStation 5 needs to be on the same network as the PC. So I've got a mesh where most other items in my house are on the mesh, the Wi-Fi network that the mesh is sort of broadcasting out there. My PlayStation and the PC are on a separate network, okay? So they are connected directly into the router. So they are not on the mesh. Don't even know it exists there. The PC especially, because it doesn't have Wi-Fi on there. So literally, as long as they're on the same network, it will read the laps for you, okay? So I switched them on. I've done it already. Let's jump into Gran Turismo 7 and let's set a little benchmark and then we'll go from there in terms of learning. Right, here we are then with literally the opening lap as we head down towards turn number 1 then. So the 202.104 was when I did the actual time trial guide. We're jumping back into this a few days later, of course, as we go into turn 1. And all we're looking for here is setting some laps, getting an idea of the lap. Now, obviously, I remember little bits of this because I actually did the lap guide for it, but it's all about now just getting a feel back into this event then. So as we go through here, you can see we've already lost a lot of time to the Ghost. Don't worry about that. If you're ever doing a time trial, just set off and do this benchmark. Exactly what I'm doing right now. I've invalidated my lap, but you know what? I'm going to carry on all the same. So we get to the end of the lap then. This sets an initial benchmark for us at 204.6. So we carry on with the next lap. We're just getting warmed up here. What we're going to go down to now, 203.4. That's good improvement. We're getting used to this combo. We jump further again on the lap. We're down to a 202.592. So you can see that memory has come back for this one. Usually wouldn't happen in a time trial event, but because I've done it before, it is what it is. Come through this last corner then, and I'll try something different through the last corner. Notice I'm in 4th gear. So a lot of people were saying that people were cheating doing a run-up. They weren't, they were just in a different gear. 202.9, but we carry on once again. Now this one is an interesting one, okay? So this is lap number 5. I normally do between 5 and 10 laps. As we come into here, we're very much up on our time as we go through here, but I'm going to clip the bollard. Bit annoying, don't get me wrong, but even so, we're going to need to still finish this lap. It gives us an idea of where we're at right now because we were up until that chicane. So we're going to go for a good start to lap. Notice again, we're doing the 4th gear exit on this corner as we continue on now towards that line. That's a 202.462. What we will do then is advance once again to the end of the next lap. It's already invalidated because of the bollard, but even so, we're going to complete this just to see if we've got an idea. Once again, we're 3 tenths up at the chicane as we go through here. This time we didn't clip the bollards, and we're still around 3 tenths, 2.5 tenths now as we go into the last corner. Once again, I'm just setting up for the next lap, but we're seeing here consistency that we are 3 tenths up on our current 0.5, which puts us down to a 0.2, nearly at our 0.1. And look at that, we actually got the exact same time as the previous lap, which you don't see very often, and I was quite surprised I did that in this video. Bearing in mind, I'm just doing this to demonstrate how to improve lap time. Let's go to some replay footage now, and let's analyse Dan Holland's lap. So, we set an initial time there of 202. I think the invalid laps were 0.4. It's kind of crazy, 202.4, and they're identical. Pretty weird, but 202.5 there. Now, I know we've gone quicker in terms of on the leaderboard, the 202.1, but we're just getting back into the swing of it. I can see the 202.1 is back there, but now we want to investigate why we're about a second off Dan Holland's Ghost, who we were following there. Now, for me personally, I think if you're in the top 10, it should automatically upload the Ghost, and if it doesn't, your lap should be invalidated personally. But it doesn't do that. But even so, Dan always uploads his Ghost, which is always appreciative of that. So do other people as well. But what we're going to do now is going to play replay, okay? And all we're looking for initially here is to see if we're doing any of the gears wrong, okay? That's all we're doing. Now, the app will also record this, so then we can actually have a look at the app and then compare our laps. So first of all, let's load the replay. And what I do is I go to the very beginning of it. I've now set it up correctly. I don't know if you saw that. Annoyingly, because it's on the joystick here, it's doing the same thing here, but display all, driver name. There we go. What we're going to do is click play, and then we're just going to watch it from this point. So I can see counter assist is on straight away down that bottom right hand side. Now, arguably that might improve my time, but I'm not going to be using that for this one, just because I don't like using that personally. So it goes on the brakes, second gear. I was using second gear initially. Goes down to first gear, then short shift to second. Interesting, gets the rotation. Stays in second like we do. Goes to third gear then. So doing some stuff similar, some not. Down to here. I assume we're going to go to first then to get the rotation. Yes. Okay, that's interesting. So short shift to third through there. Little bit of oversteer. And then they continue on. So sector time there, 0.4 in terms of sector time. We've got a 0.7. So we've got about 2.5 temps there to improve on. And yeah, we're doing similar gears here. So we know we're losing 2 temps in the first sector. We'll see that on the app as well when we get to the app. But we'll continue on watching this. Down to here then. So down to second gear is what I expected. Then short shift to third. Yep, so we're doing that normal. Obviously, some of this I did remember from when I did the video the other day. So 104.8. I can tell you that's about 2 tenths down on my absolute best from that Thursday. Through there, the bump is having issues, but we're doing some sort of thing there. I think it's about 4 tenths down on what we've just done today in our benchmark lap. We go on the brakes then to second gear. Go shift to third again. That counters. I think it's counter assist is the assist being used there. Continues on through here. And then we're going to head up there. So I'm not that far off here, actually. So this must be all at chicane then. I'm just thinking back to my overlap as well. A 202.1. I'm pretty sure I was only 2 tenths down there at that point. But let's go into here. Yeah, so I started using second gear there. And nice and stable there on the exits. Last bit of braking down to second gear. Short shift to third, I imagine. There it is. And then it's through there. Runs a little bit wide. Nothing major, though. And here's the line. That's a 201.4. So the significant things I take away from this, and I do this when I want to check out why I'm slower than somebody, is the fact that there's an assist on there. So this is an assist I don't like using, so I'm not going to use it here either, but I'm going to try and get as close as I can. See more first gear shifts to get a bit of oversteer in there, which is understandable. So that's something we may want to take into consideration. But everything else seems roughly about where we are. So we've got an okay benchmark to go with. What we are going to do now is jump to the app. I was about to jump to the app, but I forgot to do one very important thing, which was to enable replay capture on the Delta app. I forgot about that bit because I don't do this very often in terms of capturing a replay, because you can load the pro laps, which I'll talk about shortly. So let's actually turn that on and I'll re-record this lap. Right, so now we have saved Dan's lap there. What we're going to do is load my benchmark lap, which was here, 202.46.62. Our optimum there is also a 0.3, which is just above my head. Just make sure you can see that. Okay. So obviously got the penalty laps here as well. But what we're going to do now is also bring in Dan's lap as well. So first up, let's just pick this lap because we know this is a valid lap. And what we want to do is actually bring in a reference lap. Okay. So we're going to load a lap. And what we can do here, in fact, that's my old reference lap. Interesting. That's not the lap I actually want to load. Search for a reference. Compare your data. Upload. By the way, the pro laps here are here, by the way. Look, wait, Tidgney! So upload, and then we can go here. And that should bring it in, and we can have a bit of a comparison. Okay, so we have all this information. Look at this. Look at this. I love this bit. This is the bit I love because you can properly dig down into the detail. Okay. So we can follow this lap all the way around. So we go down here. Look at this. We're actually up as we come into here. As we go on the brakes, we lose a bit of time. And look at this. So just in turn one alone. Okay. Turn one alone. We are, I'd say, 1.5 tenths down by turn one. So that tells me I have to practice turn one immediately. So as we go through here, do we lose much time? Not really. It's about identical coming through here. Oh, see, this corner as well. Now, you may remember, in both of those corners, Dan used first gear. I did not. That tells me I need to start using first gear, okay? We can have a look at that in a second as we go through here. So then I'm 3.5 tenths down, which is what we expect. So then as we come into here, 3.5 tenths down. I lost a little bit there. Nothing insane, in my opinion. But we do lose more on the hairpin. We're 3.5 tenths down at the end of sector 1. We're 5.5 tenths down at the end of sector 2. The S here alone, Schumacher S, we lose another tenth. Lose another tenth on that corner. So once again, we've lost another 2.5 tenths there. I bet you the chicane is where we really lose out here. Watch, let's have a look. So we're coming into here, 8 tenths. Yeah, so it's another 2 tenths, 3 tenths on that last sector, which is really interesting, to be honest with you. I can already see very quickly where I need to improve, okay? Definitely sector 1 on this turn in particular, and this turn up here. Both of these turns are where I am really losing time. Interestingly enough there as well, we've got information that the hairpin is where we need to improve as well. If we dig down into the data side of this then, we can compare speeds. So one thing that people were commenting on the time trial video was, oh, they're going between the cones again to start the lap. They're not. So I suppose I should have mentioned it. I did mention it briefly. You have to start in 4th gear. And if you do that, look, our speed is identical. absolutely identical here as we get to this point here. Okay, so, I mean, arguably I'm 0.1 mile an hour faster. I'm quicker than Dan, which is why I'm a little bit up on the time. So there's nothing insane here, right? And we can see speeds as we go into here. And this is what it's great for, right? So we get into the... I suppose if we get to... Where are we losing the most time here? Literally, by this point, we've lost the most time. Now, what I could do with doing is seeing exactly what speed it is when we get to that point. This way it gets tricky with the reference lap. So 51 miles an hour is where I'm at. Dan is still at 55. So Dan actually maintained throughout that corner. Oh, he does it. Do you know what? It's interesting. Really interesting stuff here. So notice as we go into this corner, 70 miles an hour, 64 miles an hour. He's still at 71. So he just carries that braking for a bit longer. And then comes out the corner. Actually a bit slower, to be fair, which is why I gain a little bit. But overall, he's quicker into the corner. He's just carrying that bit more speed into the corner. And that's because he's going to use first gear during it. And that's what I've deducted from that one. Deducted, what a word that is. Going through here. Again, the speeds are very similar. So this is the next bit where we lose time. So as we go into here, notice that I'm carrying more speed this time. So this is telling me that I'm actually carrying too much speed. We get to about even at that point, but at that point I've gone a bit too deep. And if you remember on the lap as well, I did go a little bit deep, which makes sense. You can follow this all the way around, okay? You can get an idea of, you know, where you're losing time and gaining time. Speed-wise, so up here, look, there's a big speed difference up here, which is obviously the run towards the chicane. Like at this point here, especially. Oop, I did not mean to dig down into that. I need to zoom out now. Zoom out. Thank you very much. So you can see there, look, 109 at the Schumacher S versus 106. So I'm not carrying anywhere near enough speed. And that's where I did lose some time, remember? So what, I lost nearly a tenth there from doing that. So I'm not carrying enough speed. Oh, look at this up here, actually, as well. 140 in. So, interestingly, with a similar... Oh, I've done it. I keep clicking. This is a mouse issue. This isn't an app issue. I'm using it on my knee. So, interestingly here, this is a big one, actually, okay? So, if we look here in the data analysis, look at this. My speed is going up, but Dan's goes up a little bit more. So, if we scroll a bit further down here, can we see the reason why? We've got brake on there. That's fine. Aha! Here we go, folks. Here we go. This is where we're finding out things now, okay? We're finding out things. So, if you look here, Dan goes to 5th gear, which gets him that little bit of extra speed. And that benefits him. So how much time does that benefit Dan at? It goes from 8.83, I'd say. Nearly a tenth of a second, I would say. Half a tenth at least. So he gains half a tenth. So that we need to change gear. That's where we've established a key problem here. Real key problem. We need to change gear here. Our gears everywhere else are looking pretty similar. And you're seeing as well, where Dan's is the yellow one, yellow line here. It goes down in places, and this is where Dan's abusing the gear change. And abusing, not in the wrong way, it's the correct way to do it, but he's abusing it in a way where he's benefiting from the time. And we're seeing that right here. So this is all data analysis that we can use. So now you're going, Tidge, well, how can I use this information to benefit myself, to improve my lap time? Well, critically, we identified some key areas there. We said sector 1, like turn 1 especially. This turn here is an issue. And the hairpin was an issue. Schumacher S was definitely an issue. Big difference in speed here. Real big difference. In fact, Dan actually stays in 3rd gear for a bit longer to get a bit more rotation, which is very interesting. And then we've also just got on the straight, half a tenth on the straight by doing nothing. That's purely gear change. So my key areas and what I would do now, and what I'd advise you to do if you are struggling for time, is to focus on one area. Do you focus on turn 1 or do you focus on turn 3? I'm going to focus on sector 1. And the reason I'm going to focus on sector 1 is because I know I just need to get these a little bit more right, okay? And we're going to focus on a sector at a time. So I can do these two things, okay? I'm not going to do the thing on the straight. I'm going to do these two, and I'm going to see how I improve. Just from looking at the Delta app, I can see where I'm losing time versus Dan. And let's see if we can get down to that 202.1 that I've got, or maybe even get into the 201s, and then get back on that top 10 leaderboard. Right, here we are then with literally the very first lap out the blocks since that replay breakdown and review and comparison here. So we're going to head towards turn 1. Now, as we go on the brakes here, we need to remember we need to go to 1st gear. And I actually forget to to go to first gear here. However, we do see that it's not that big of a disadvantage on that particular corner. We do it fairly okay, to be honest with you. Now we drop to second gear there, and we accelerate out of here. Now we get a bit of oversteer there. Counter steering assist would help with that situation. We do drop to first gear here though, and look at that rotation instantly. We're keeping up with Dan Holden then through that left-hander. It's interesting to see. We know there is an improvement to be had dropping to first gear. And as we get to this sector here, we've already got an improvement there. We saw 0.7 on the previous run, already into the 0.6s, already with that change. We jump to the end of the lap here then, and we're going to see what lap time this is at the end of the lap. You notice it's the first lap. You can see that on the mileage down the bottom left-hand side. And as we head towards the line then, it's already a 202.2. So we've already beaten our 0.5 that we did earlier. We were 3 times up a few times, so that makes sense. Now we just jumped on a bit further in terms of laps and tries here. Hit retry a couple of times. Really want to get this right. Notice there I've gone to first gear this time. Just trying that out now. Getting into the swing of trying that out as we go into this left-hander. Doesn't look like we've changed that much in terms of distance to the ghost as we continue on through here then and head towards the next left-hander. Are we going to drop the first gear? There it is. We get the rotation and we continue on through. I would argue, actually, I think we're a bit quicker than down through that corner now as we continue on through here then. We're going to head towards the line. So we've started off at 0.7 with the benchmark, 0.6 on our first lap, 0.5 now with this lap. Shows we've made significant improvement here already as we head down towards the hairpin then, hard on the brakes as we go into here. We did need to accelerate quite early here in terms of that. We saw that in the Delta app as we continue on through. That's a 105.051. So we're only 2 steps down now on Dan, so that's clearly going to be a 201 there. We do suffer a little bit there through the Schumacher S. That is something we do need to improve on in terms of the laps. We head towards the end of the lap then, going into the chicane, and we just got a little bit too deep there, and then we clipped the ball. The reason we got too deep there is because we were in 5th gear. We're still trying to get used to the braking in 5th gear. So one reason why you might not go to 5th gear is because actually the engine braking in 4th gear is that little bit better. Going to continue towards the line though here then. Let's see what lap time this would have been. There it is, a 201.8. So that is what we could have got in terms of lap time. So I'm pretty happy with that, knowing that we've got that improvement. We jumped to the very next day then because a baby got involved and interrupted my session. We're only 7 miles into this session then. We've done 1 official lap, which was a 202.6, and this is our next lap. So we go into here now. We actually make it through the chicane at this time. Very close to that ghost up ahead then as we go into this final corner. Our sector 1 there at 0.7, so it's not the greatest sector 1, but the other sectors are looking very nice indeed as we continue on out of here then, and we're going to head towards that line. What is the lap time? Well, it's a 201.9, so we've already improved now on the lap that we did for the lap guide. Jump a bit further on then, so this is literally 10 miles in. I think that says down the bottom left. I can't quite see it, but it is the same session, and we've just been hitting retry again. So we go through here then, and we're going to head towards this left-hander, staying in 2nd gear. If you remember, we're going to 3rd then 2nd. We're not doing that now. We do short shift on the exit. We're still suffering a bit with that oversteer, but we're helping and trying to maintain that reduced oversteer if we can. 1st gear to 2nd gear there, so we're still doing that. That's been a definite improvement on this lap. We've seen that with the sector times. Now on the previous lap we did get a 0.5 in terms of sector 1. This is a 0.5, more 0.6 in reality. So we've still got some improvement there in terms of this sector. And we're going to get a 0.4 at one point on one of the retries, but I can't remember which retry that was. We continue on through here. We're still very close to the ghost then, so we're on a very competitive lap. Remember, my 201.9 was a 0.7 sector 1, and we're in the 0.5s just there. So if we do the same sectors, we should improve. And that's why I always say focus on one sector. We go through this one then and continue towards the sector there. So we're still down on our previous one, which was 105.051, I think it is, but that's the 0.099. But we're still doing okay here. Arguably, we should have a 0.4 sector 1 and a 0.4 sector 2. So there's still some time to gain there, and we know we can get that time. But even so, looking at the overall lap at this moment in time, 2nd to 3rd there, that does help out as a good little trick there as we go into this right-hander. And we want to go to 4th gear on the exit now as we continue on out of here. Did we just clip the gravel length? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not too sure. We're 3 attempts down now on Dan's lap as we head towards the chicane then. So obviously this is going to be a do or die moment in terms of chicane. We went up to 5th gear, we dropped down to 2nd gear now, and we absolutely nail the chicane there. Look at that, that is beautiful in terms of an exit. A little bit of oversteer there. That counter steering assist would have caught then as we go into the final corner, and we want to accelerate early. Now remember, we start the lap in 4th gear, but we're going to end it in 3rd gear here, just because you do want to be in the power band initially, and we're not worried there. That's 201.7, so that is a good lap time. That actually puts us on the top 10 leaderboard. You can see they're starting in 3rd gear, actually loses 2 tenths of a second there as we head towards turn number 1. So it does get us back on the top 10 leaderboard then, that 201.7, which is good to see. Right, we're going to jump back to me in person now, and we're just going to review this final part of the video. Right, so what did we learn from this video then? Well, the critical part there was, you may think that you're doing exactly the same as the Ghost, but unless you watch a replay, you don't necessarily know. What Delta did there was actually really amplify what we needed to learn, which was dropping to first gear in Sector 1 really did benefit us. We saw the time difference immediately, instant improvement in Sector 1 straight off the bat. We also saw an improvement at Schumacher S as well as seeing top speed gains on the back straight. Now, you wouldn't necessarily see these speeds just watching a replay, which is where Delta comes in, where reviewing sector times comes in. Now, I also focused on Sector 1 mainly enjoying all of that because that's where 3.5 temps was actually available to me. And that's something I would actually recommend you do as well. Focus on a given corner or sector and then forget about the rest of the lap. Once you are really, doing that repetition in that sector, then go to the next one and then the next one, and then you will have a lap entirely, because by the time you've learned Sector 1 continuously, it just comes to your second nature. And arguably, if you do learn one sector, it does actually automatically then apply itself to another sector as well. But critically, this is how I improve on Gran Turismo 7. I review sectors, I review data, I have a look at how I can improve and where I can improve. I don't just jump on and do it willy-nilly, because that's never going to work. You need to set a benchmark, you need to understand where you are at now, you need to understand where you can go by looking at the leaders, and then actually using that information to apply it to your lap to then improve. And arguably that's what happens when you get tutoring, one-to-one tutoring. I know lots of people have been asking me to tutor. I don't have the time to tutor unless I charge some extortionate price, which I'm not willing to do because I don't think it's worth the money in that situation. But you can tutor yourself by using an app like the Delta app. And I'd say there are more available. This isn't a sponsored video in any way, shape or form. It's just showing you how I improve speed, where I need to improve on speed, and you saw that straight away. Bearing in mind on the time trial, normally I spend about an hour, hour and a half initially, and you saw there in a few laps of learning that information, I instantly improved on that 2 hours worth of time. That's going to be it for this video, folks. I do hope you have enjoyed it. If you did, as always, give it a like and subscribe to the channel to stay in touch with all the latest content. There are 2 videos there to check out, including the latest time trial guide if you are looking to get those 2 million credits. And, of course, this type of video should hopefully help you towards that, or just get quicker in Gran Turismo in general. Big thank you to my partners down below. Remember, you can check out my affiliate link with Coach Dave Academy. But that is going to be it for me now, folks. Thank you as always for watching, and I hope to see you in another video or live stream again very soon.